at some point. And yeah, we're talking about all sorts of things. So come on in, join me, and yeah, we'll learn all sorts of stuff. So this makes day 4 of working on this. I have to say, I'm looking or feeling pretty optimistic as to how it looks. Never been a huge fan of sanding though. It's kind of tedious. Or I should say, anytime I start sanding, I want a power tool. This is going to be the real test of my patience. Do we have what it takes? I would like to show you guys a job I've been working on for a while now. But we're not there yet. So, if you guys have any jokes you'd love to have read out, I'd love to give you a shout out on the live stream. This is a mahogany cane, and I made it from some leftovers that I have from a deck I installed. It's pretty cool. It was one of those moments where we were wondering what was going to happen with it all, and then the homeowners were like, I don't want it. We're like, okay, well, let me take all this mahogany off your hands. Seems to happen a lot, but yeah. Let's see, what's a weird story? When I was 30 years old, Oklahoma was having a real bad problem with fracking earthquakes. And normally not a big deal. It was kind of interesting with the ground shaking from time to time. Never thought anything of it. But one day I was doing some work on a gable, and I was a good 28 feet up. It was a pretty good sized gable. Anyway, I'm up there working, and suddenly nothing but open air underneath me. And I felt like some rumbling. And I realized that that rumble had kicked the legs out from underneath the ladder. And I fell 2 stories. And as I'm falling, I had my arm, like I was reaching out, and I grabbed a hold of the ladder, but it didn't do me any good because I put my arm inside the rungs. And so the ladder started coming down with me. It actually bent itself around my right arm as I hit the concrete. And I was absolutely certain something had to have been broken. Because, that's not a small amount of distance to fall from. But I'm seeing the ladder. It is bent around my right arm. And to my everlasting shock, my arm was fine. Everything was fine. It's like I landed just perfectly so that I was not just permanently damaged. I couldn't believe I got out of that with no problems. Moments like that I've always wondered, you know, like, is it a good thing or is it a bad thing? It was that moment where there are some people that would say, "Yeah, man, you're cursed. Weird things happen to you. That was a tragedy." Other people would look at that moment and say, "Man, you were blessed. You could have been killed." Both kind of true. You know? I could have been killed in that moment. But I think it's always about how you view life. Me, I personally think that life is just full of good times and interesting stories. And if you're not having a good time, then you can bet at some point or another, whatever you're going through is just going to be an interesting story. You know? Oh, I don't know what I was thinking. Let's get the audio going. Better audio. Let me clarify. Got the DJI mics. That's what I use. There we go. Perfect. How's that? Better? Awesome. Now you get the dulcet sounds of me sanding. It's like no matter how many times I do this, I will never fully remember everything that I'm supposed to remember before I live stream, you know what I mean? But yeah, like, what's the difference? What's that moment where you're like, well, this, you know, I was blessed because I survived. I was cursed because that was weird and, you know. But I much prefer to think of it as, that's just another interesting story to tell. Another element to my narrative, if you will. There was this comedian who talked a long time ago who was like, what do you say to the guy that's been to the moon? You know? They have a story that literally trumps anything you're about to say. But see, that's my competition. I've become, that's my goal, is to see things that would rival the moon guy. Hey, thank you very much, Cryptic King. Appreciate it. And you're right, double tapping the screen is for free. Yeah, there's going to be a ton of sanding to do on this. Got some strange little divots to get out. Feels good in the hand, though, I'll tell you that much. This already, it's got a good feel to it, the hook and the finger. I think it's going to be a nice feel in the hand. That's okay. People like to lurk, you know what I mean? It's fine. But, yeah, my life has been full of batshit insane stories. When I was, goodness. Yeah, when I was 24 years old, I was working on a job site, and this guy didn't want to rent a lull to lift the lumber up to the second floor of this house. Technically, it was 3 stories up because we were on the side of a hillside, and the porch itself was like, goodness, at least 24 feet up. It was really high. Anyway, we set up some scaffolding. So the idea was I was going to carry the lumber up there, and they were going to take it from me as I brought it up. And that was the idea. That was his money-saving option rather than renting a lull. So I keep hauling this stuff. I've been carrying it up 2 stories of scaffolding for a while now. I'm getting kind of tired. You know, you get to that kind of delirious tired where you're just not even really paying attention anymore, and you're just lifting it up, putting it in place, and moving on. And so I did that, and I'd been doing that for a good hour and a half, and I didn't notice one critical thing. They had stopped taking the lumber from me. And so it was all just sort of sitting up there, and I just didn't notice. Now, what I was hauling up there was 18-foot-long pieces of laminate board, and they were 1x12s, and so they were really, really heavy. So I'm walking away from the scaffolding. I'm getting ready to grab another board, and I look behind me just enough time to see the entire pile of it just go straight into my face. Just pile drives me straight into the face, and it takes my head all the way to the ground. Like, just hits my face and just keeps on going. I'm just falling backwards. It bores my head right into the ground. And then the boards just sort of French fry out. And as I do that, I would just, like, I'm so dazed. But I remember hitting the ground and then flying back up in the air because I hit so hard I bounced. And then I landed back on my feet. And my face was bloody. I was just completely messed up. And I'm just standing there like, what in the... So anyway, I'm standing there, and the only thing that was going through my head is I don't want to pass out. I want to be that guy that just, like, took the worst hit and did not pass out. And so, yeah, no, I totally did not pass out. I was so, like, oh, I gotta man through this. That was my moment. Some part of my brain was like, this is your man moment. And so I'm walking, staggering is probably the more accurate word. I'm staggering up to my then boss, who was like, what the hell did you do? And I was like, you guys stopped taking the lumber. It fell on my face. And he's like, God damn it, that's just what we needed today. As if I did this. And so he's like, get the hell in my truck. I don't want you throwing up on anything either. I must have looked like a mess. Anyway, did I mention my old boss was a real piece of work? Anyway, so I get in his truck. We go to the hospital. I'm just lucid enough to realize my nose is completely concave now. It is bashed straight in. And we get there, and I'm waiting through the hospital. Like, there's no priorities here. They were like, yep, there's another guy with a crushed face. But, yeah, so I'm waiting and I'm waiting. I finally get seen, and they look at me, the nurses do their thing, and eventually, after taking my information, they leave, and this doctor comes in. He asks me a fistful of questions. He looks at a number of charts, and then he leaves, and then I don't know how much time passed, but this group of medics all piled into the room with me, and I'm like, what in the world is going on here? And after a little bit of inspection, I'd been dazed for a while, but I was finally becoming a little more coherent. And I noticed they all looked relatively new. And so apparently the idea is all these new med students were going to get their opportunity to do proper stitching on my face. And I can't remember exactly what all the conversation was going on, but I remember distinctly one of the medics saying, "Did somebody numb him?" And the doctor said, "Yeah, the one that was in here before us did that. We're just gonna go ahead and do the sutures." And I was like, "Wait a minute, nobody numbed me." And so, but I'm like really, really out of it. And so these kids, they look like kids, started taking turns putting in sutures in my face while I'm feeling all of it. Because I did not get any form of Novocaine or whatever it is they give you. And I'm like, wow, this is an interesting experience watching somebody put needle in your face and feeling it. It was like something out of a Saw movie. So anyway, dealt with that. And after a while, I got over it. I waited for the doctors to come back, and finally one did, and he says, "All right, so the sutures look good. The sutures look good, but I'm gonna tell you, your face is pretty messed up. In fact, it's the kind of messed up that no amount of plastic surgery is going to make that go away. It's not going to be cheap anyway. And I see you don't have insurance." I was like, "Yeah, that's true." And so he's like, "Yeah, come back in 2 weeks. We'll see what your options are." All right. So I go ahead and I leave the place. My boss is still bitching about having to take me to the hospital. And fast forward 2 weeks, my nose popped back into place. Like it was just, like it had never happened. Like nothing had ever happened. And I was like, well, that's weird. I just woke up one morning and my nose was back in place. And so I go back to the doctor, and I obviously my nose is now back. And the guy's like, "Yeah, I don't know what to make of that." And I was like, "So any ideas what's going on here?" And he's like, "Yeah, I have no idea. Here's your papers. Congratulations." Yeah, so crushed face syndrome. Got over that in 2 weeks. Regular Wolverine style situation. Man, I gotta tell you, this is sanding a lot better than I thought it was going to. I thought this was gonna fight me a little more. So how about you guys? Any crazy stories? Yeah, man. That's what you're here for. You watching a man polish his wood. It's got an interesting spiral pattern to it. That's how you know it's good wood. That sounds painful. I wish there was some way to set up a do not disturb and still stream at the same time. This is, oh goodness. Alright, so that's not too bad. We can glue that. We'll sand it and glue it later. I might end up cutting that off. We'll see. Yeah, I'm probably going to just take that off a little bit. How about that? I'm just probably going to do that anyway. Little whittling trick, if you didn't already know. Just guide it with your thumb. Actually, I should probably take a... Oh, goodness. Alright, we're good. We're good. We're good, guys. We're good. Yeah, no, that's perfect anyway. Trying to give it that more round dimension. But you gotta track the grain of the wood, otherwise it'll start to dig deep. There we go. That's better. No, thank you very much. I really appreciate that, Liam. Yes, I did make this myself. This is one of my first little projects I've done purely by hand, no power tools involved. It was one of those moments where I wondered if I could do it, you know? I suppose the jury's still out, but I think it's turning out pretty nicely. Yeah, for a guy that tries to teach carpentry and advocate the trades, I don't sell it very well. I think I've nearly died on the job site at least. Goodness, at least 12 times anyway. At least 12. I have had my right kneecap shot twice. It's a miracle I can still function. And that's not even all of it. It's been shot twice, and I had a hatchet embedded in it. That was a fun experience. I was ice fishing, and I have a hot tent, and so I was getting some kindling going for my stove. And I made the mistake of cutting inside the tent because I thought I had enough control in there and I had a nice block to cut on. But the log I was chopping down pivoted on me as I was swinging and deflected off it and hit me straight in the kneecap as I was kneeling. What was interesting is we were out in the middle of nowhere when that happened. And so my buddy called 911, and then we get a call back not too long after that saying, yeah, we can't get to you. Where are you? And we were literally in the middle of nowhere. The road that we took to get down there was it was like 4 feet of snow when we went down, and they had like another storm hit in that time. So they had to plow all the way across the lake to get to me. And then they couldn't get the ambulance down there, so they had to drag me on the sled for, what was it? It was at least 30 yards anyway. And, yeah. And then I got put in an ambulance, and I'll never forget the ambulance lady. She was really interesting, because as bad off as I was, she told me the darndest story. Hey, what's up, from Liverpool? How's it doing? How you doing? Good to see you here. Yeah, so I'm sitting there, bloody leg, chatting it up, and just talking about life and how tough life can be. And she finally says, she's like, yeah, I didn't want to be a medic like this. And I was like, oh yeah, what were you gonna be? And she's like, I used to work for NASA. I was like, what? What's up, guys? Greetings, greetings, Mr. Zombie. Yeah. Thank you very much. Yeah, so she's like, yeah, I used to work for NASA, and I was like, wow, this is quite a shift for you. And she's like, yeah, 3 months ago, I was in a car wreck and my head was crushed, and so now I can no longer go into space. I was like, what? And I finally got a good look at her, and all of the teeth on her upper right mouth were just completely destroyed, gone. And I was like, oh my goodness, that's insane. It was one of those moments where it's like you're feeling pretty bad about it, that like your trip is ruined. My trip was completely ruined. 3 months ago, this girl lost her entire career. Thanks very much, Saucer. And so, yeah, I don't know, I like talking with people like, oh goodness, splinter right up the fingernail. Oh, that's fun. Let's see if I can get that one out. Break that. Yeah, that it. Yeah, I got a sliver straight up the fingernail. Hey, what's up, Marcus? Any relation to Marcus Aurelius? Like, yeah, he was my great-great-great-great-great-great-great-great-great-great-great-great-great-grandfather. What's up? Hey, remember to double tap that screen. It takes no effort whatsoever, and it helps my channel out. I appreciate it if you do. So you're not a stoic then, huh? Easy does it, easy does it. Alright. But yeah. Oh yeah, so anyway. So I get done talking to this former NASA astronaut on my way to the hospital. And oh goodness, felt so bad for her now that I think about it. And so I get there, and the doctor is ready to roll on me, but they had to have like the lead doctor show up and check me out just to confirm that everything was fine. And it was more or less all they could do. So they go ahead and start, he goes to start to stitch me up, and the guy's like, hold on a second, I just need to feel something. And I'll never forget this. He takes his finger, and like I have this giant gash on my knee, and he just jams his finger and feels around underneath the skin. He's like, nope, feels okay. Go ahead. And I was like, ah, why did you do that? So I sat there and played online chess while they stitched up my kneecap. That was interesting. I've always had an interesting relationship with pain. It doesn't bother me the way I hear other people talk about it. I don't know if it's just my career in construction or my general bad luck in life. Yeah. It's been my experience that a lot of doctors are kind of heartless. Not all of them, but enough of them that I've run into my fair share. But what's funny is, like, even though I didn't lose my mobility at all, the strength in my right knee has never been the same. It has been jacked. I can lift, what am I at? I can do a 125 kick with my left leg, and it was not my non-dominant. I can now only do like 45 pounds with my right leg. So yeah, pretty substantial shift. Pretty substantial shift. I'd like to get the strength back. I'm working on it. It's just one of those long-term goals. Though, if you guys want to help me out with that goal, make sure you double tap that screen. Helps me out. Helps me make a little more money in all this platform. And yeah, lets me bring quality content to you. Well, I call it a spiral cane, but this is made out of mahogany. I had about 1,000 pounds or so of excess mahogany on a deck I was building for somebody a while back, and they didn't want the rest of it, so even though we had gone through all the effort to manufacture it and make it from scratch, we just wound up with a whole bunch of deck boards, and so I've been making all kinds of stuff out of it. After this project, I'm planning on making a pretty nifty puzzle box. Hopefully I'll be able to do that on live stream too. Although, I'd like to get something made for Halloween. Are you guys doing anything interesting for Halloween? I know things have been pretty chaotic lately, but you gotta take those moments. Enjoy yourself. Just working. Come on, man. You gotta live. You gotta do some living. No, I used to work through all the holidays myself. That was always my shtick, and then I realized I couldn't really figure out why I was doing that. Like, I can retire at some point or another, but I'm missing out on all the now years, you know? Trying to start recapturing my now moments. that, man. You're gonna kill yourself. I used to do that myself. Yeah, look at me. I worked a full work day, and I'm down here sanding and live streaming now. Yeah, I wanted to talk. I know. Such a hypocrite. Hypocrite. No. No, I figure if you're doing what you love doing, then it's always worth it. Personally, I'm going to try something new. I live not too terribly far from Salem, Massachusetts, so I'm going to go check it out. I'm sure that's got to be quite the party, right? And sometimes you gotta sand just to clear away some of the excess so you get a better idea what you're dealing with. It's been my experience anyway. This is 150 in case anyone was wondering. So, on the topic of weird stories, this same kneecap, the first time it got shot, I was working for this guy who was just the worst human I've ever met in my life. He was one of my first carpentry bosses. He was racist, he was a bigot, he was very, very sexist. And he used to take all of the safety mechanisms off of all of his nail guns, because he wanted to be able to go faster. So there was no spring in the hammer, and there was no spring behind the trigger, and so basically even the slightest rattle would make them go off, which I was used to. I'd been working with this guy for over 2 years by this point. Never had a problem. I just have it dangling from my tool bag and, you know, did my thing. We were about to set some walls up, and I'm just standing there with the nail gun dangling from my hip. I'm getting ready to put a wall up, and just as I'm about to crouch down, I felt a hit against my leg, and I heard a pop, and I looked down, and this 16 penny nail is going from this part of my knee right here and out the other side over here. And I'm just like, what? You know, I'm in my early 20s. That was pretty, yeah. So, I'm trying to figure out what to do. And my boss just looks at it and faints. It was the funniest thing I'd ever seen. He just like, he looks at me, he looks down at that, and he's like, what happened? And then just gone. He passes straight the heck out. And so, he finally comes to. I'm still trying to figure out what to do about this. He's like, suppose you need to go to the doctor, huh? And I'm like, yeah, that seems about right. He's like, fine. You can have the day off if you want. I don't know how to get that nail out, though. And so, I got some linesman's pliers, and I pulled the nail out. That felt so weird, though. I'll tell you, if you've never pulled like a nail out of your body, like all the way through, because it doesn't come out easy. It's not like this slippy feeling. It's like it feels like it's trying to pull your kneecap with it. At least that's the way it felt to me. It was like something was I don't know, like it was wedged in something. I couldn't figure out what, but it was oof. But I finally got it out. That it's funny too, because when you commit yourself to pulling out a nail or whatever it is, you kind of are like it's like a splinter. You're hoping to just kind of jerk that sucker out and be done with it. This thing was like a slow, hard process, and I had to like really pull on it. It was in there. I couldn't believe how hard I had to fight just to get that stupid nail out. So, I'm assessing my new situation here, and my boss is like, "Well, the urgent care place doesn't open until, what was it, 8 o'clock. You may as well help me finish putting up these walls." So I'm like, "Oh, you got to be kidding me." And I don't know. I feel like I tell this story to a modern generation and they'd be like, "Yeah, I would have quit." Why are you putting up with this guy that is clearly not taking care of you? Like, he should have offered to take you to a hospital. And I don't know. I don't know what to say. I was conditioned from a young age to just put up with whatever was coming my way. Call it a byproduct of being homeless twice. At any rate. So, finally, it comes to that time, and I've been sitting there, like, putting wall cross braces up. And so it's finally time. I hop into my car. And what's funny about my car is it's not normal by any means. It is a regular Dukes of Hazzard situation because the driver's side door does not open. So there's no way to just get in. So I'd always had the driver's side window just perpetually open. And I had to crawl in through the driver's side window, with a freshly nailed kneecap. And bear in mind, it was a Kia Sophia that was a stick shift. So I drive this sucker to the hospital by myself. He did not drive me. He didn't take me. So I get there, and I've never been there before. I've never even been to a doctor's office on my own. This was like literally the first time for me. So I go to the doctor, and I go to the front desk, and I say, I shot my kneecap with a nail. And the lady says, "Hold on a second, do you have a checkbook?" I was like, "Do I have a what?" "A checkbook. Do you have a way to pay?" And I was like, she's like, "Do you have insurance?" I was like, "No." "Do you have a way to pay? Any way at all?" And I was like, "Well, I have a checkbook, but it's at my house." "Well, we can't see you unless you have a checkbook or some obvious way to pay for this." And a credit card wasn't going to do it for some reason. I can't parse that one out. So I go ahead and I'm like, "Well, I don't have it on me. Can you look at my kneecap? It hurts really bad." And she's like, "I'm sorry, we can't see anybody that has no way to pay." So I'm like, "Fine." And so I hop back into my car. I drive 30 minutes back to my house with my stick shift vehicle, my shot kneecap, and I hobble into my house. I get my checkbook, and sorry, I had to concentrate there for a second. I get my checkbook, and I had Dukes of Hazzard it back into the car. It was funny too because I had this guy as I'm doing that. It was funny. I lived near a high school at the time, and this teenager comes up to me and he goes, "Dude, you just Dukes of Hazzard it in your car." And I was like, "Yeah, that's how I get in my vehicle." He's like, "That's awesome." But anyway, Yeah, so I'm driving off to the urgent care clinic again, now with my checkbook. And so I flash my checkbook as I get in there. She's like, all right, you can go see the doctor now. Because nobody was there. It was middle of nowhere, Bumstock, Oklahoma. No, let me be more clarified. This was near Tuttle, Oklahoma. Ah, shoot. I am getting splinters under the fingernails like crazy. Not a good sign. So, yeah, I am in. So, I get there, they get me in, and I didn't know it, but like the nurse comes in and she's like supposedly checking my vitals, but she sees my bloody leg because my leg is like coated in blood at this point. Um, and she's just staring at that leg like she's just dreading having to open it up and take a look. So she starts to roll my pant leg back, and as it gets to the kneecap, she's like sighs audibly. She's like, "Oh, thank God, thank God." I was like, "What? What's wrong? What's going on?" And she's like, "I thought I was gonna have to take the nail out." I'm like, my doctor slash nurse is freaking out on me. No, don't worry about it, doctor. I did it myself. Oh, thank goodness you did that. And the doctor comes up to me and I guess her boss, and he looks at the two holes at my kneecap, and he goes, "Well, there's nothing we can do about it." And he puts two bandages on both sides, prescribes me an antibiotic, and sends me on my way. Like nothing else. He's like, "Yep, $80." I was like, "So $80 for two band-aids and a prescription. Interesting." Oh man. Yeah, that was funny as heck. Um that was one of those stories that just kept on giving too, cuz like most dumb young guys, I did not do the recommended prescription of my antibiotics. I figured I'd just tough it out, and sure enough, my kneecap got infected something fierce. In fact, up until that point, I would say that was some of the worst pain I've ever felt in my life. Take your antibiotics, folks. Oh man. But like what happened was my good friend at the time was he was an interesting guy because I was always really big into working out and stuff, and he was a professional athlete, and so he was constantly like testing himself against me. So he'd like challenge me for no reason, and we went camping a few weeks after that incident, and he's like, "I'll challenge you to a race," and I was like, "Dude, I have a kneecap problem," and he's like, "You're getting around fine. You'll be fine." I was like, "All right, because I'm so dumb. I'm so dumb. You have no idea. I was so dumb as a youngster." Oh man, I was like street racing the whole 9 yards. I did so many dumb things as a kid. So anyway, challenges me to a race, and I like halfway down, I like full blown collapse, which obviously we ignore that. Um, and so we spent the rest of the night firing off Sobe bombs. That was pretty fun. And we finally go to a restaurant later on because we were done camping, and he wanted to have KFC. I say restaurant, KFC. And we're sitting down and eating, and this guy comes up to me and he says, "I noticed you're limping." I was like, "Yeah. got shot. I told him the story about how I got shot, and he was like, "You got antibiotics for that?" I was like, "Well, I got a prescription, but I haven't used it." "Take the bloody antibiotics. I am a doctor. You need to take those." And I was like, "Oh, wow. All right." And so, yeah, started taking, got chewed out at a Kentucky Fried Chicken and started taking my antibiotics, and it cleared up pretty quick. But yeah, kneecap infection, not fun. Don't recommend it. I don't think I lost any mobility from that one. Of course, that was only the first time that kneecap's been shot. I am one of those people that is either profoundly unlucky or profoundly lucky, depending on how you look at it. That's kind of where I was going with that earlier statement in the stream. It's all in how you look at it. It all worked out for me. You know, I toughed it out. I got through it. Went on to do some pretty crazy cool stuff. But, yeah, it was fun. Good times. But yeah, you go through life. I could have seen all that stuff as like, oh man, I'm super unlucky. Or I'm like, you know what? I have a really good story to tell now. That is a crazy story. And I'm happy I got to share it with you guys. And that is just the tip of the icebergs, my friend. How about you guys? Any crazy stories? I would love to hear them. Or read them. I'll give you a good shout out if it's a good story. I miss the old days, right? You know, just sit around a campfire, swap stories. Sometimes I've wondered if like life's just like that, because I seem to be kind of geared towards metabolizing that sort of thing, you know? Hey, what's up, Muhammad? Like, there are a lot of people that would have shut that entire experience out of their brain. You were like, oh, remember that time you got shot? No, I do not remember that time I got shot. But for me, all of those things were just interesting stories. Things that I'll get to share someday. Maybe get a little better at telling it every time I... What's funny, though, is that is exactly what happened. That whole story, just no extras, no attempt at adding to it. That was just what happened. Just the way of the cosmic spiral. I've always had this impression like we just live in a improbability machine. You know? Like, we always talk about, oh, isn't it crazy that we live on this planet that is sequestered in like the perfect spot in our solar system, and it managed to evolve us stupid monkeys to a state that we're now trying to go to Mars and all that stuff. All the crazy little coincidences that happen to make us here. And I'm like, yeah, the world is a coincidence factory. Like, not good or bad, just a lot of the craziest stuff you can think of. And if you're present, if you're there when it happens, you're down for some good stuff. Just be present in the moment. Yeah, it might hurt in the moment, but just absorb it. That's my take anyway. What do I know? Just a dumb carpenter. Bit. Don't cut towards yourself, ladies and gents. I know it doesn't look like it, but I'm in full control. He's like, yeah, that's what happens when they say that and then they get stabbed. That has never happened to me this week. Twice. No, I'm kidding. Yeah, I'm just knocking everything over. Yep, good times and good stories. Plenty of good times, though. Plenty of good times. It's funny, though, they say no regrets, but I'm not sure. I don't know. It's one of those things where it's like, if I were to go back and do something differently, like, would I, people say, would you do anything different? I've heard a lot of people say something like, no, I would never, I'd do it all the same. And I'm like, I don't know that I'd want to go back and relive my life. I'm pretty content to just keep on living the next day. I'm pretty confident I would make a lot of different decisions, but it would have led to a lot of other different outcomes, It would have taken me all of 10 minutes to just completely change my life and be in a completely different situation. No doubt it would still have been a very interesting life, but, I guess my answer to that, would you change anything if you could? I'd say, yeah, I'd change everything, because I couldn't live it twice. I don't know that I'd want to. Let's see what I can do next. Maybe we'll have like a time traveler moment where I get to keep going back and forth. Try out new stuff. That'd be pretty wild, right? Thank you so much for the likes, guys. I really appreciate it. Double tapping that screen makes a world of difference. Nice. Well, that's a good start for that channel. see, the other time this kneecap got shot, I was in a lull that they had a basket attached to the end of it, and there was this really high gable that we couldn't get to any other way, so they put the basket up so I could finish the trim on it. And as I'm getting up to the trim, there's like a low section, because I had to be really high to get to the very peak of it, so there was part of what I was working on that was like really low. So I had to crouch to shoot on the piece of fascia that was there. And as I am using this coil nail gun, I'm firing, and suddenly the end of my hose just pulls. And instead of going into the fascia as I'm pushing forward, it jerks out of my hands and goes pop! And it goes straight into my kneecap. And the nail goes from this bone into this bone, and I couldn't move my leg. It was like fused, it nailed the two bones together. And so, anyway, they lowered me down. I had another guy faint. That was fun. Seems like I'm pretty good at that, getting other people to faint. It's like, hey guys, I need some help. Oh, hold on a second, I need to pass out on you. Oh, thank you. So, having already pulled one nail out of my kneecap, I'm yelling for a pair of linesmen's, while one guy is calling an ambulance, which I quickly flagged him off. I am working on a mahogany cane. It's got a spiral going all the way down. I think it looks pretty cool. It was one of those things I decided to do completely at random. Yeah, thank you very much, Dan. I appreciate it. I wanted this to be a project that I did completely by hand. No power tools, just working the wood. I think most men like to spend some time alone sanding the old wood. I like to bring an audience myself. Yeah. So what kind of carpentry do you do, Dan? I'll get back to the story later. We're talking to Dan now. Now, anyway. So, I got this nail in my kneecap. Finally, I get one of the guys to flag off 911 and give me a pair of linesmen's. And yeah, I went and pulled that out. That one was a tough one though, because I don't know if you guys know anything about nail guns. They have, like this was put together with like metal strapping. So when the nail went in, it had little barbs going from side to side, up and down. So when I pulled it out, like there was like a bunch of meat on it. Like it didn't come out clean by any means. Frame to siding, yeah, I did a lot of that. Frame to siding, I spent a good 12 years doing that kind of work. And like every frame to siding guy in the world, I kind of thought I was the best there is. I like to think I do okay. Have you noticed this? Like most siding and frame guys, they kind of get it in their head that there's only one way to do things. Like there's only one right way. That's been my experience. Most people have a way, and they're pretty confident that it's the only way. But when I teach people carpentry and siding and stuff, I like to tell them there's 100 ways to do something right. You want to do things to duplicate the existing material, so if you're working for somebody new, you're on their job site, play by their rules, absolutely. But just absorb it, because the more of those little things that you learn, the little tricks, the methods for getting stuff done, you will become such a strong problem solver eventually. And that's the real goal, especially when you're working for somebody. Become that guy that learned all of the tricks. Yep, exactly. Yeah, never become that guy that needs everybody to do it their way. It's obnoxious, and you want your newbies to learn. Actually, oh goodness, where is it? Thought I had it down here. I was actually gonna do a demonstration on that. On how to connect J-channel together. I am from New England, though I have moved a lot in life, so saying I'm from New England is a bit of a misnomer. I live in New Hampshire, though. Southern New Hampshire. But I work all over. St. Paul, huh? I don't think I've ever been there before. And I have traveled a bit. Although, yeah, I've never been to Minnesota, so... Yeah, that you live in one of the only parts of the United States I have never been to. I've never been to Minnesota. How do you like it out there? Oh, I should say, everybody, if you feel up to it, please double tap that screen, and as payment, if you have any questions about carpentry, getting into the trades, what you should know, that is basically what this channel is all about. So I'm happy to answer any questions you might have. I'm sure there's a few things that might gnaw at you. And the neat thing is like, you can know a lot about construction and carpentry, but know virtually nothing about it in another state. So, I'll give you an example. I learned most of my vinyl siding experience in Oklahoma, and when I moved out here to New Hampshire, I kind of thought I was pretty hot stuff. And I found out very quickly that nobody was impressed with my Oklahoma skills. Not that they weren't good and even potentially applicable, but they have a very different way of working out here. Just completely different way of doing siding. There are so many different protocols, stuff for snow deflection, water deflection that I never had to consider in Oklahoma. That it was like learning the trade all over again. But it was a good piece of humble pie, you know? You get those moments where you're like, this is a good moment, you know? I get to learn something new. I thought I understood this entire thing, and here I am learning stuff again. Felt good. If you learn to enjoy those moments, You'll be much better off in life, I'll tell you that much. The act of becoming better. Just becoming in general. I don't know about you guys, but I get excited when something confusing or difficult pops up, because that means I'm about to learn something cool. Yeah, I would imagine so. I have family in California, and I was looking at the codes out there, and they are very different from out here, too. It's funny though, have you noticed that in the trades it's become a lot more complicated to be a skilled tradesman? Because it used to be you know, it was the same thing, same product, same basic concept for decades and decades. Nothing had changed. And then it hit like maybe 15 years ago, everything started to change. Nowadays, you've got to know infinitely more than you used to. It's a miracle that most states don't require carpenters to have like a license, because it's a whole new ball game now. I'd almost say go to get some higher learning just to catch up, get reacquainted with all the new products that are out. I know that's happened to me a few times, even recently. I was installing a deck recently, and this guy's like, "Oh, I know I said I was going to do the handrails myself, but can you do the handrails as well?" I'm like, "Yeah, sure." And he piles on this like stack of railing system that I have never seen before. Completely different system, and I couldn't even believe it. I'm like, "All right, well, yeah, I can do it, but I've never seen this before." Which was still pretty awesome, because that gave me a chance to work a new product. But yeah, you gotta keep yourself sharp in this game, I'll tell you that much. No, it was not a cable system. It was a oh goodness, what was it called? So bad with names. It was a metal system, but the problem is the way the system was set up is you kind of have to plan your deck around the railing system. And he made no illusions as to what I would be dealing with, and it was going to be a basic deck frame to finish job, but he insisted on wanting to do a number of the parts of it by himself, and then he had a bad case of getting older, and so now I'm doing all of it, which is fine. But yeah. Goodness, why do I always blank on what it's called? I did that the other day. I had to buy an extra piece of railing for it because I did something stupid and I paid for it. I cut something short and I ended up having to buy another piece, and it was like $95 for this extra piece. Just one piece. And the whole time on the phone, I'm talking to the lady, and she's like, "Well, what product is it?" I'm like, "Ah, God, I gotta find the box. I can't remember what this is called." I'll tell you, it's funny. I say it myself, but I am really good at doing what I do. My inability to remember names of products and stuff has lost me more work than almost anything else. There's something, you know, like when your contractor shows up and they can't remember what something is called. Oh, man. Just one of my little quirks. Thank you very much for joining me, everybody. I really appreciate it. Make sure you double tap that screen. I really appreciate the support. It's helping me get closer to my dream of doing full-time teaching on YouTube. That's a good size deck. 12 by 30. The deck I am currently working on as my day job is 52 by 12, and it's a double deck. So there's a lower deck that is just the entire deck. It's 52 by 12. And then there's the upper deck, which is 14 by 12 with a sunroom I attached. So I'm currently in the process of trimming that sunroom. Yeah, I like the Trex deck system. I kind of wish that's the way this guy would have gone, but instead he wanted this super convoluted system. Took a little longer than I would have liked. You do a lot in the trades to like accommodate homeowners. I'll tell you what, guys. I'll bring some pictures next time of the project I've been working on. I really should just show it to you guys one of these days. It looks pretty nice. Looks pretty nice. Full AZEK wrap on everything. Yeah, looks pretty nice. I'm pretty proud of this one. Sunroom that needed skylights on it. Yeah, nope, that's the thing. Whatever makes the homeowner happy. Yep, that's exactly it. It's funny though, there's been this meme going around. What was it? It's like I can either do it fast, good, or cheap. You get to pick one of those, two of those, but you can't have all three. I only do it one way. I do it good, and I do it as cheap as I can make it within the bounds of doing it good. And that's pretty much it. Fortunately, I have enough of a reputation that people are all like, nah, he's worth it. I'll wait a few months. But see, that's the thing about doing something quality. You make a good product, you do the job right, never get a call back. Suddenly, even those jobs that they were like, no, I don't want to pay as much as I want to pay as you're asking. That seems ridiculous. And then eventually they end up calling you back and saying, oh no, the guy screwed up my job. I'm like, yep. Now it's going to cost you to have me tear it out and redo it. It's just the way it is. Yeah, exactly. Man, this guy gets me, I'll tell you. Hey, what's up, Adam? Flex cut or never craft? Flex cut or never craft? I don't know that I actually have a preference, if I'm being honest. How about you? Do you have a preference? Oh yeah, no. I completely love the smell of cedar. I had the craziest story with that though, as I often do. There's this homeowner. She had me do parts of her sunroom and her deck in cedar. Although she picked it out on a catalog, like she had no idea what type of wood it was. It's just what she wanted. And so she's gone for like 2 months while this project is going. And she gets back, and this deck looks beautiful. It looks absolutely gorgeous. The cedar handrails. It's got the metal, cable railing that we set up inside that was custom. All that stuff was done. And she looks down on it, and she gets on the deck, and she pauses, and she goes, "This isn't cedar, is it?" We're like, "Yeah, that's what you asked for." And she's like, "I'm allergic to cedar." And she sells it. She sells the whole place 2 months later. That was such a funny moment. Like, I mean, it's you know, it's funny, sad. Funny, sad. That whole project was funny. We had to travel like 3.5 hours to get to that job. Like, so it was like a whole process. Like, how she could have missed this, I can't even begin to fathom. And I wasn't the one who got this job. A friend of mine got it and arranged for it. He just arranged for me to be there for it. So I had no idea. But yeah, that was a funny moment. It's like, I'm allergic. But yeah, we actually got to, we stayed in the house for a good chunk of that project. And one day we decided to have a fire outside. Just, you know, enjoy the night air. They had a nice little fire pit nearby. And we're sitting there at the fire, and this white cat comes out of nowhere and starts, you know, doing that cat flirtatious thing. And it sticks its tail in the fire and completely lights itself on fire. We're like, "Oh my god, what is going on?" So this white cat is freaking out, and we're trying to put out this fire on the cat. And we finally do. We finally get the cat to slow down long enough to put this fire out. And I look at this cat, and it has like a tag on it, and you could tell whoever owns this cat is like big money. Big money. And we're like, and its tail is burnt. All the hair is gone on its tail. Oh man. I don't know whose cat that was, or even, I did, but it was just one of those like, dang, son. You know. Has anyone seen my cat? Yeah. Kind of burnt its tail off on accident. Not that we did it. It was just one of those, stupid cat didn't understand fire, but... Yeah, you know, it's funny. I try to not make decks and exterior finish my thing. I would much prefer to do indoor stuff. I've been doing kitchens for a long time too, but it seems like the thing that keeps coming up is decks and exterior trim and stuff. Those are the things that people want, especially off the lakes. That's what everybody's fishing for. They want that nice deck staring out at the Lake Winnipesaukee or Lake Winnisquam. Lots of big money out that way, I'll tell you what. There was this house I helped frame. Sorry about the dog. I don't know if you guys can hear it, but yeah, he's freaking out for some reason. Yeah, so a good friend of mine had me help him frame this one house. And the house itself was not all that impressive, or at least, I mean, it could have been more impressive, more accurate. Like, they were spending money hand over fist. And I actually found out how much they had already spent. They'd spent close to $10 million on the house. And I was thinking to myself, I'm like, who spends $10 million on this perfectly average house? We've been working on this on and off for like 3 years now. And I finally got a hold of the homeowner to have him just talk. I was just curious because I know it's his wife's house. It's not their first house. And I said, this is costing a ton of money. Are you guys like, wouldn't you rather get it wrapped up? And the guy's like, yeah, it keeps my wife busy. I was like, oh my God. Could you imagine having that much money? You spend $10 million on a house that shouldn't have been any more than 7. Just because he's, keeps my wife busy. She's having fun. I couldn't imagine that. Some of those people are just in a whole other league, I've noticed. Like, I had this one guy that I was working with, or for, and both him and his wife both had Rolls Royces. And I was like, oh, I bet those things cost a pretty penny. And he's like, nope, didn't spend a dime on them. And I was like, what? He says, the maker of Rolls Royce owes me a favor. I'm like, oh my God. Could you imagine Rolls Royce owes you a favor? And apparently it's just perpetual cars. Like every 2 years he gets a new Rolls. Not that I'll ever see that kind of money. I know he was telling me if some of his stuff, and I was like, my truck payment's coming up. You could pay off every piece of debt I owe and not even notice. But I would never ask that of somebody. That would be stupid. I feel like everybody should make their own way in life, and I'm sure he earned his millions somehow. Although he did tell me one of the ways he earned it, and I was like, oh man, that's kind of fortunate. It was like right at the end of the COVID times. He comes out to meet me, and I just instinctively shook his hand. Like, he came out, and I went, I extended my hand, we shook hands, and he looks at me and he goes, oh my God. I was like, what? And he's like, that's the first time I've shaken somebody's hand in 2 years. I was like, wow, that's crazy. He kind of broke down after that. He just started telling me about his life. And he's like, yeah, last year my father died. I was like, oh my goodness, I'm so sorry. He's like, no, he was old. It was expected. I was like, oh, well, I hope it was quick. All the standard platitudes you say in a situation like that. He says, it's not that, though. My father left me $780 million. I was like, oh, wow, that's quite the... And he's like, you know what, though? He didn't let me finish. He was like, you know what, though? I don't need it. I don't need that money. I've made more than that. I've made my millions. And I was like... Stop saying stuff like that to me, buddy. I'm about to extend this job out. Oh, man. Some people got it figured out, though, I guess. Yeah, starting to look good, man. Starting to look good. All right. Well, it's getting late. I'm getting tired. Thank you very much for joining me on this lovely evening. I hope it was at least somewhat entertaining, and we'll see you on the next one. Thanks for joining me. Let's make knowledge common again, right?